Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. Welcome to the Water and Sewer Committee for the City of Winter. Present today, we'll start with the supervisor, Mark Liebrecht from Water and Sewer. Councilman Clunt, Councilman Schuyler, appointed officials Troy Kruger and Chandra Phillips. We're to that point, budget's rolling through. I think, turn this over. This is gonna be about dollars and cents, and you can ask a few whatever operational questions you want.
The only thing really I have, water and sewers, got two items I guess to talk about a little bit. We're putting in the water line right now for the Elevate building. So when that project's completed, I guess we'll add up the ticket for that, and then I think the protocol there was to submit a bill to them, and then they can come to the city and talk to the council. We should wrap that project up this week. We have one sewer main in town that needs to be done yet this year. That's about it for water and sewer projects. And then Mark has brought up that their Vector truck is getting worn out, and he's been corresponding with Sanitation Products in Sioux Falls, and he let me know last week that there was a truck that was ordered, and the parties that ordered it backed out, and so there's an opening, and that truck is available and can be will be ready to go in 2024. We didn't fund it in his budget, so he would have to take it out of his cash on hand. But
Do you have the specs on the truck and a price that they can
Go
look
ahead.
at? Mark?
Do you have,
I didn't put anything out. I didn't.
last one I had, I've been gone for a week.
What? We give time off?
Not one of those,
Oh,
things.
gotcha.
the last bid did not include the chassis on there. So he redid it, we're coming in at 488,000. If you guys wanna look at that. That's basically what it's gonna be.
So I guess there's a few things to consider when we talk about the Vector truck. What the Vector truck does for the city of Winter is,
That's what I think that's good. I've seen it. Yeah.
we use that vehicle to maintain the sewers. So we can jet them, and then we can suck out sewage out of manholes or whatever. It is, I mean, I don't know how that works. If the city sewer system, that would be a question for Mr. Jensen, but are we liable when our sewers, and it backs up into the homes of residents?
100%.
That is that's something to take into consideration, because that's what we use this truck for, is we use it to get the sewers back open. 99% of the time when we have a plug sewer, it's due to tree roots, and tree roots that have got into the sewer system, and then the debris hangs up in the tree roots. We treat the tree roots with different types of chemical treatments, but obviously we can't treat every sewer every year, and the relining process is a wonderful process, because that actually eliminates, because it's a solid liner, the roots can't get into that, whereas like even the new PVC pipe has a joint, and it's gasketed joint with a rubber gasket, and the tree roots actually can penetrate, get through those. It's not as common as it is with clay tile, or cement pipe because you have shorter pieces of pipe and in a sewer pipe, you don't have the pressure like you do in water pipes so that they're not gasketed as heavily and there's obviously a greater chance that you're gonna get tree roots to get into sewer pipe, but, so, I personally haven't ran the Vector truck in quite a while. So that, you'd have to take Mark's, where that thing is at in its current condition and what it will and will not do.
It's, right now, we're getting it into gear to get the PTO in gear. It's kind of a tough hit and miss. We might play with it for 10, 15 minutes, try to get it to the PTO to engage. Our big tank on the back, the debris tank, on the suction part of it on the top, very top there, we're rusting through with holes. We've got wrap bands on them right now. We're operating with the vacuum, but we don't have as much vacuum as we would like, but it's working. The jetter's working, but we can't hold water very long. We've got holes in there, and we've had winter welding, I don't know how many times, weld that aluminum tanks and stuff. It just,
It's 20 years old, right?
yep, 19.
I've talked to other people than just Sanitation Products. Everybody's pretty much in the same boat. If you order a new truck, you're a year and a half out, 2 years out. This one just happened to come open, so he called us and let us know that there's a slot open for that one. But if we would go and say budget for it for, 2025, we can buy Sanitation Products, use the Sourcewell. We can go that route. We can budget for it, but just bringing this one up to your attention because the slot came open.
And somebody else might grab it, the spot too.
Yeah, it's first come, first serve. I did talk to Ben last week, and there's 4 other people that are, obviously that he's got a list of people that are ordering new Vector trucks, and so he's giving everybody the same opportunity, so it's first come, first serve. Whoever speaks for it first gets it.
And as of yesterday at noon, it was still open.
Okay. What do you think, Austin?
Well, I think we use it a lot. I thought we could rehab the one we had for 100,000 or something. Isn't,
At least 100, yeah.
because we don't put that many miles on the actual chassis. It's not like the engine's wore out.
No, the truck's like,
You know.
the truck is actually like brand new truck. It only has like 20,000 miles on it.
I don't know.
What would be the benefit of new versus replacing the tank? I'm just asking based off this question.
If we were to order a new one, we'd definitely get bigger holding tanks. Our holding tanks are 100 gallons apiece. We'd go to 200 gallon. That gives you more water to jet with without having to go refill.
Okay,
And then a longer hose on the front. Our hose will go about,
Ours is between 300 and 400 feet.
yeah, it's
This
going
one-
from manhole to manhole. That's about as far as you're gonna get. Most manholes in town are about 280 to 320 feet. So you get it set up in a manhole, you go to the next manhole, you pull that back, and then you suck the debris out. And then, a little longer hose would give you the advantage, like, you can get a 600-foot reel on the bigger trucks.
This one will come with 700.
so if you took the old tanks off, could we order new tanks, 200-gallon tanks, to go on that chassis where we're not paying for a new truck chassis?
I don't know.
Instead of buying an all-new truck, I heard, and I'm sorry for stepping in here, you guys, but
There's a lot more,
what are we missing to buy a new tank?
the biggest thing is the pump, the pump.
Okay.
That's your your pump is your suction, so that's your ability to build pressure, to be able to jet or to suck up the debris out of the manholes. So that's kind of your most important component of the truck, is that gives you your working ability to do the things you gotta do. As far as the tanks leaking and what Mark's talking about is
Yeah.
the vacuum system is starting to rust through. If you start replacing all that kind of stuff on that truck, yeah, you're gonna be talking $150,000. But
Which is cheaper than 480.
it is cheaper than 480.
That's why, I mean, when you're talking dollars and cents in a truck that's got 20,000 miles on the chassis and motor, that seems to be the most expensive part. Can we see, and I'm not asking, Mark, I think council, what I hear is, we can do the 200-gallon tanks, we can do the bigger pump, the longer hose, but are we money ahead at 250, 300,000 to order those and put them on and maybe get it quicker, or put ourselves in line for a 485,000 truck? I don't know.
I don't know, but the 100,000 was just the 3 tanks.
Okay.
You know, what are you gonna get into once you get into it? The pumps, the
Right.
PTO, transmission.
Well, will the
Right.
chassis even hold a 200?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
Gallon tank.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
These are all questions
Yeah.
I think are worth exploring. I'd like to jump in line. I'd like these guys to tell you that, but if you can do it for, even if it costs you $250,000 to redo the hose and the tanks, we're still $230,000 ahead on versus jumping in online with that new one.
I would like to get, the truck was bought through Sanitation Products. It is it's one of their vehicles,
Our current truck.
yes.
Okay.
I would like to get that truck to Sioux Falls and have them look at it and tell us what's all wrong with it. You know, what it's gonna take to get it
I
back.
don't, yeah, I mean,
I hear the need.
yeah, I totally get, I mean,
The problem is,
we gotta do one or the other. I mean, I totally understand that. I kinda agree about getting it over there, seeing what they say, and then kinda, I mean, could they add the bigger tank, almost spec out the truck we have, add bigger tanks, a bigger reel, and see where we're at. Maybe we spend 300,000, but it's still better than 500. And we might have what this one is.
Yeah, the problem is they're so far, they don't have any help and they're so far behind, and I don't wanna sit here without a Vector truck for 2 months because, when we need it, we need it. So we gotta open up, I know right now, last time I talked to Ben, they're putting together dump trucks, and they have like 6 dump trucks put together here before snow flies, so they're super busy right now, but after that time, hopefully we can get that truck in there.
This truck's not available till 25,
24.
24.
24.
It'd be,
The chassis ordered,
April through May, or April, May.
That's still 6
Next year.
months that we don't have use of ours.
We're still using it, it's crippling along.
But that's my question is, can we afford not to have one? So if we send it over to Sioux Falls for a month and a half, 2 months to get fixed or rehabbed,
Well, we have to hire, I mean, where's the closest one? I know we go to
Mitchell.
other cities. I mean, if we absolutely didn't have to have one, we'd have to hire one if it was an emergency.
I think Gregory recently purchased one. Somebody told me that, I don't know that for sure, but I think they purchased somebody's old Vector truck. Mitchell's the closest place where there's a commercial business that has Vector trucks.
For an emergency or whatever. Do we have any idea what they give us for ours?
That,
Probably not till it gets over
it's not a
there and
number
they
you're
look-
gonna wanna hear.
No, but I mean,
didn't we have that discussion in council or during the budget? That it was less than 100,000?
Yeah. Even with all the updates, it's, he says it's not gonna be worth more than 100,000.
I actually
Even
sat,
with the new tanks and-
last time I was in Sioux Falls, we stopped in and visited with him, and I was, the one thing that, it's kinda like you guys' fire truck, it's this, so I'm trying to, I had a bunch of questions for him, well, can we take that, if we buy a new one, can we put a box on this one and make a dump truck out of it, or, do something that we can get some use out of this vehicle without just giving it to somebody else for, $50,000 or $20,000, can we make use of the vehicle it's not heavy duty enough for a dump truck, and it's not long enough. Basically, we're stuck with either rebuilding the current one that we have, refurbishing it, or selling it outright and buying a new one.
And if we wait, it's probably gonna push us into 25, right? For a new truck.
Probably. Yeah, I would say most definitely at least 25. Wait until next year, 26, 27.
So, how much longer do you think what can you get out of your current truck before it's just not working anymore? Like a year, 2 years, what? How much longer will it work before it just?
Well, you don't know. You know.
How quick can we get it over to Sioux Falls? When would be the next time you need to use it versus taking it over there and looking at
I would say
tanks?
first of the year would be probably a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Not this time of year?
No, they're totally backed up trying to get dump trucks put together because they got a bunch of orders for people that they're putting plows on trucks and last time I talked, when we stopped in, they were like 6 trucks behind schedule trying to get them, so they're not gonna have any time right now to get us in and take a look at ours. If we can get it over there,
But yeah,
they could maybe spend, a couple hours looking at it, but as far as getting anything done with it, like if we get it over there and they tell us, yeah, we could switch this valve and this, couple of pieces in here and it'll get you by for a while, they're not gonna have time to do it right now. I really don't wanna leave it sitting over there for
No,
a month.
I wouldn't take it over there without an appointment.
Yeah,
It's sit for how long,
yeah, exactly.
Is our staff, our mechanic down here is pretty handy. If they evaluated it, would it be a possibility that we could purchase our own 200-gallon tanks, take those off, put ours on?
I don't know if Chris could do that.
I don't think this truck, the way it's set up with the tank and things, we can't get bigger tanks on it. We gotta stay with the size tanks that it has. That's
Because of the size of the chassis we
It's
have?
just the way it's set up. It's not long enough. The truck itself isn't long enough. It doesn't have the
Okay.
wheelbase isn't.
Okay.
If we redo this one, it's basically gonna be, we're gonna have to redo it the way it is now. It's just the way
Okay.
it's put together. With the suction tank and the water tanks and all that.
So as I think back on this, you guys can go ahead and do whatever you want as far as an appointment, scheduling it to take a look at what needs to be done. Council, are you gonna put this on the agenda to put ourselves on the list? And if we go on the list, does that obligate us at that point, Troy, Mark?
That was what I was wondering, do we have to budget it this year if we put it on, Chandra, or not till we take possession? Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on here.
it sounds like if they're asking to fill a spot that somebody backed out on, it sounds like now you're to the point that if you say yes, you're taking it.
How come they can back out?
Yeah, that's
The
what
next
my-
Oh,
guy
they had it
can't?
ordered 2 years ago. That's what,
They were just put on the list.
yeah, they were put on the list to build one and then they backed out. Now Now it sounds like the people that say yes now.
Excuse
Well,
me.
technically, any contract that you sign legally, I was actually just reading this in the state statutes yesterday. Legally, if it's outside of that current budget year, there has to be a clause in that contract that states that if council or financial ability does not support this in that year, you are obligated to be let out of it. That's a new,
SDCL.
yep, and it's something that we have to look into with all of our leases too. So if you sign any contract that's over a year at a time, there has to be that clause.
Is that retroactive too, for current?
No way.
contracts?
I
No.
don't know the answer to that without asking.
Mhm.
I'm guessing not.
That's my guess. I mean, contract is contract.
So anybody that we'd sign a contract with, if we couldn't meet our obligation, they would have to let us out of the contract.
Oh, is that, you're
Wow.
working on 2024 budget? Would that count there too, or if it was in 25?
Well, it depends on what this purchase agreement would say. My guess is they would ask you to sign a purchase agreement stating you will take possession of it. Like with the dump truck that we ordered back in 2019, we actually made 2 payments on it before we even took possession of it because that was part of our contract with them, the council. So this company may say, you have to pay for this now, but you won't receive it until April, May. So just all of that depends on how we would do the budget and everything.
Cash on hand is what?
You would be able to afford.
Okay. That's what
They
I
would
thought.
tap it out pretty good without knowing exactly where we're at
Mhm.
at the end of the year.
720, 710 at the end of the year
Is that-
projected.
Projected 710.
I think that's what the last numbers Chandra gave me were.
Okay. That would take.
But do you use that on a new, or can we buy tanks and do it for 200,000? That is the question. Can you save $250,000? I mean,
It's
Yeah.
whatever you guys want to do.
And it pushes your relining project that much further down too, because that was why you took that out of the budget this year, so that you could do a bigger project in another year or two, while you actually spent all of your cash. So it was going to make it into the general fund. So, I mean, there's just several things to think about.
Does anybody have any questions budgetary wise, like the numbers that you see in front of you, or?
Is that 4325 line or whatever the sewer department total, that's your 45.7% used for the year? Am I looking at the right line?
Water.
4325 is the department. What are the next 4 numbers you're looking at, Austin? Just to the right?
Yeah. Is that line,
Which-
the bottom line?
Oh, your expenses are at 45.7% of the year? Is that what you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Is that what, am I reading that right? Or-
Yep.
Yep.
You are.
So we're sitting all right there?
Just depends on how the highway project final payments come through. Because your total revenues are only at 35.67%.
How's
Water and
the-
sewer kind of deceiving because we've had so much grant money in them the last couple of years that
Yeah.
once this highway project is done and his budget's actually based off his revenues, it's gonna look a lot different.
How's your project going with the meters, Mark?
They've been working hard on putting radios in and heads and stuff. I don't know the exact figures. I'm sure we're over 300 in by now.
Is that
Okay.
a good figuration
Yeah.
of how many cards we have?
Yeah.
300 in.
Good.
How is our shipment receiving coming on those,
They've been trickling in.
trickling in? Okay.
We just got, I've got to get the water guys and the electrical guys on the same page. The water guys have put in, or the electrical guys have put in around 600 meters. The water guys have put in around 300. But in a lot of cases, when the electrical guys go out, they take the gateway out of commission, then we can't read the water meter. So we need to coordinate, those guys need to work better together so that
With the water department.
these guys are a little slower than, they have a few more steps to go through to get the radio put in place, and then if the meter head is dead, which has been the case in a lot of places, then we have to get a hold of the customer and we have to actually get into their residence, and then we have to put a new meter head on, run the wires out, and so it's a little more time-consuming process than what the light department has to go through with their meters, so. But that needs to, they need to work on the same homes at the same time, so that once we're up on one system, we're down on the other system, we gotta have both systems working so we can read. But they are getting caught up on a lot of the accounts that, we're not reading, and so and I had that conversation with Randy, last Friday. And the question was, some of these people that the gateway wasn't reading, but the water meter was actually working. Now when we put the radio on, they might have a year's worth of usage that all of a sudden now is being recorded. And obviously, we're not gonna go back and, charge those people for that. We will just, we'll continue to, they'll pay the minimum one more time, and then once that meter is caught up, then they will be charged according to what the meter's reading, because it was our equipment that was faulty, not there. It wasn't with the homeowner, so. Some of those people would be seeing bills of substantial amounts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, once you get 2 new readings, from the time they put the radio up, you get 2 readings. If they haven't been reading, the second reading will start calculating,
If the head was dead,
Yeah,
then it'll just start from 0.
yeah,
But if the gateway was dead and the water meter was reading,
yeah.
now all of a sudden it's reading that water meter that's been out there, and it's been accumulating for 6, 8, 12, 18 months, and all of a sudden it's going to show that reading, and that's going to be a lot of quantity of water, and it would be a nightmare, an accounting nightmare for Randy to have to go back, figure out how many months that meter wasn't working, that we weren't reading it. Then she would have to take the minimum charge that we've been charging them, and then she'd have to go through and add all those months together, and then find out, from meter reading to meter reading, how many gallons that is, and then she'd have to go back and she'd have to figure out, and then we'd have to go back and divide that by the amount of, it would present a pretty big hardship for the people that it's happening to, because this is not gonna be just like a couple $100. This is gonna be a couple $1,000.
But this, thinking about this is something council's gotta be okay with also. They have to be the ones that,
See, I
Wait.
didn't know you told Brandy not to do that, because she actually had specific instructions for me to.
hold on. It's council's, there's a suggestion here and a suggestion here. The only people that can waive these fees are you as council. And as an example, if it's $1,800, I understand your point. I totally understand your point. You have 2 different perspectives, but ultimately, council holds the cards no different than we bill out if we do a procedure for somebody. We'll replace a telephone pole. It gets hit and wrecks the telephone pole. We have to charge full rate per our resolution. And I understand your point. I totally see this point. Two different, but ultimately, council's the only one that can make that decision. That falls on you and Austin to send that to full council and have that discussion on what we're gonna do with those rates. And I tend to agree, with both sides, but you,
I did a little research on this, and so it was our equipment that failed, and that is on the city. And we have billed them, so they've been billed. Now we would go back and back bill them, and this is a question for Paul, but the research that I did on it is, it's not legal. We've already billed them, they've already been through the process. Now we would be going back and saying, no, we're gonna adjust your bill because we have new equipment in there, and it's the city's equipment that failed. So,
I see on the flip side of this, though, they were billed for their minimum, and once that gateway is fixed, we do have a reading that's accurate and counts those gallons, and we're
but
not.
we already billed them. That's what
For the
I'm
month-
reading, is they've already been billed.
For the monthly minimum. And I'm not saying I'm right.
No,
I'm just.
I don't know either.
That's
Yeah,
not,
it's
that's
just
not
the
fair
research
to
that
the
I'm-
people that
I
got
agree.
billed an average because their head went out.
Right. I'm not
You know,
taking I'm
that's
not
what I'm
taking that
saying.
position.
You know, yeah, it's,
This is a discussion that I think there's
full
an argument
council needs
here.
to have-
I think there's a discussion here. I think there's a discussion here. And you as council are the only ones that can vote on this. I think you can hear three different perspectives. And then you as a council have to decide as citizen representatives, what's best for the public, okay? And I'm not taking a position one way or the other. I understand your point. I see a different side. I probably see this side. I can see all sides of this
Well,
discussion.
the thing about it is, though, is that this numbers are gonna be, there's gonna be some, like, Randy brought it to my attention last Friday, that she's like, some people have started to see their bill. And they're like,
I know some people are.
you know, some people, it's gonna be, well, I've been getting billed a minimum, now I'm getting billed, you know, why did my water bill go up? Well, now we're billing you on your usage.
Right.
And there's no, because their meter head was dead, yes, their bill's gonna be a little bit more, because now we're billing on usage versus just the minimum. And they saw that right away. But it is going to happen. And so that's the discussion we are having, is there is going to be the scenarios where the gateway was dead, but the meter was working. And that's going to be a very large number.
I think we need to see that number.
It's gonna be like, in some cases, it could be like a couple 100,000 gallons of water.
Right.
Or more.
Which is 1,800 per home.
and then what are you gonna do with somebody that don't live in that home anymore and moved out of town?
Oh, I think you
So now
guys.
you're gonna ask somebody in 1 month, you're gonna ask somebody to absorb a, $1,000
But-
utility bill.
Previous renter went through this, now we have to track them down?
Yeah.
But
You're never gonna get paid for that.
you're not.
And
but
then what
I-
do you do with people that move out?
I'm not arguing that. But I want to see the gallons that were lost, the revenues that were lost, and this is.
We could figure that out without even knowing those numbers. Mark does a water loss report every year.
I know, but some of that's I and stuff like that.
It's pretty close.
But what I'd like to know is the old system versus the new system. What did that old system actually cost us as it started killing? I'm one of those guys, I have to know that number. And what's the value of Landis and Gear and Census being here new? We've spent $1.1 million putting this in to get this right. What did the old system cost us? And I still think you guys have to waive that. But I like to know, and just to know. Because, I mean.
Hopefully, it's not gonna be that many accounts. But, like I
What'd we
said,
have, 400, 500 that burned out heads?
well, we don't know how many gateways weren't working. That's the
gateways.
problem. If the meter head was dead, it just wasn't reading, period. And then we put a new meter head on and it starts from 0.
But
So,
if the gateway was bad,
but if the gateway was bad and the meter was working, then that meter was continually turning and the gateway
Sure.
wasn't reading it, that's where we're gonna run into problems. That's where people
They're
are gonna.
marking that down on the cards, because when she and I had the conversation, she said she can go through the cards to find out which accounts it is, and then we can start looking.
I think through committee, I think we can authorize Brandy to not bill anybody for backwater until talked about.
can I,
Actually, there's no way to even figure it out and be fair, because
so,
once you use over so many gallons, then another multiplier kicks in, and then you use so many gallons. How are you gonna go back and know how many gallons they used in that month and what their bill
Right.
should have been? It's impossible.
I want to address this first, though. As councilman, your only real true authority power comes when you vote as a collective group as 6. You can make a recommendation. We can put this on the agenda for Monday so the 6 of you can vote, and that's where your authority is. But until then, that's why I think we need to get this on the agenda Monday night. I think it's that important right now to get 6 of your opinions, if you guys choose to put it on the agenda.
But can,
Nothing will be billed out till the first of next month anyway.
okay, that's what I'm saying, is if, I just didn't think anything should be billed until the whole council talks,
Yeah.
so that we don't have an uproar of,
It's a good thing we're talking about it today, because we can have it on there Monday. We can have this discussion.
Well, we may not even see some of these accounts come through for, you know, we're 2 months behind on billing already,
Correct,
so.
You would pass a resolution that states that due to this, blah, 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 the city council is going to waive any back readings for those accounts that have that, and then that resolution would go through.
That's what I'd like to do. And we need to get a hold of Paul, have that prepared. In the meantime, you need to have a discussion with Paul based on what you've read on statute and
Yeah, I don't even know if.
You do?
Like, I don't know how many accounts this is gonna be. I don't know. It was just Randy and I were talking about it on Friday. And based on some people that were calling in already, just because they saw that their bill went up, you know, $20
10%.
because of the, you know, now they're being billed for their actual usage versus just paying the minimum. So there are gonna be those accounts, so I just wanted you guys to be aware of it, that there is gonna be those accounts where they're going to be, we haven't read their meter for maybe a couple years or a year, and all of a sudden it's gonna read, and it's gonna be a humongous amount. And
Question is for council too, what if it affects councilmen such as myself?
You're a citizen representative. You're voting for the collective whole.
Okay, because, I mean, mine was
For
out
the
for,
resolution.
Yeah.
mine was out for 6 months,
Yeah.
probably.
There is no conflict there because
Okay.
you're addressing other people in the community. If there's
I'm
three.
not just, not looking at myself, I'm looking
Right.
at the whole city, so.
Right. I have no problem with that.
Okay,
You guys have to vote on that.
well, I think we need to send full council for sure.
Okay, we'll address the resolution. I think Chandra's got that to go to Paul on Wednesday. Just a rough figure, I'm guessing 900,000 in lost revenues, just a wild projection.
See how close you are?
well, I would say your average home in winter, I would say the average home in winter, family home would be, they're gonna use between 7,000 and 9,000 gallons a month.
I think that's fair.
You're single, like, since, I just watched ours since Jack went to school, just out of curiosity, because kids use a pile of water.
Jack showered more than every other guy alive, though.
He showered like every 4 hours. But we were always like right at that 9,000 gallons. Now we're down around 4,500. So our, you know, and I shower every day.
You do?
But yeah, I guess, you know, there's always going to be the little old lady that, you know, the single people that, you know, they're going to be under that minimum, you know, almost all the time. And
and then you might have a yard or a business
Yeah.
that used a ton of water or watered a ton, you know?
Oh, we've lost, I'm not arguing,
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. We've lost a lot of revenues over this deal.
Both water and sewer,
Yes.
doubled.
I mean, it's an urgent deal to get it corrected.
Yep.
I like where we're at the 300. We've got a nice process. I'd like the electrical department to slow down and coordinate with you guys so we're not unhooking those gateways as they're rolling through on their side.
Yeah, just switch out electrical meter, they just switched out mine, it took about 5 seconds. Pulled one off, put one back on.
But they disconnect the gateway then, and then it's not
Yeah,
reading
that's
the
what I know,
water.
but I mean, for Troy's, like Troy said, in Mark, it's gonna be process switching out the
Yeah,
water.
it's
15 minutes, probably.
15 minutes to a half hour
Yeah.
To do a switch out,
to do a switch out.
unless you have to get in the house and change the meter
Yeah,
now.
you know, Brandy's been doing a good job getting
Yeah, she has.
people lined up and stuff.
She's getting us
I
in,
appreciate her.
No,
What she's
it's-
done.
she's getting a hold of people at wherever they live, at their work or on a cell phone, and she's pretty much got us into 90% of the houses, like, while they're there.
Yeah, some people were running home to let us in.
That's good to hear, because I know that was a complication the last time we were putting in meters.
And there's other things we're doing while we're there. We're reprogramming the heads to 1-gallon trips. We're doing, we're still finding some of those old meters, the very first ones that got put in. They were 1,000-gallon trip meters. And so where that causes complication is the single person that I was talking about, that's always at the minimum, they're always under the minimum. They'll have a small bill, and then all of a sudden that meter number will roll over, and then they'll be like, whoa, where'd this charge come from?
That's on a 10,000 gallon trip?
That's on a 1,000-gallon trip sometimes, because they're under that number, and then the very next billing cycle, it rolls over right away, and well, then now they're getting billed for, they go over that minimum, and it causes, I don't know, it's just, for residential, I don't know how that ever got done, but
water for
It is.
trip.
100-gallon trip used to be the minimum, and that used to be, a residential meter was always a 100-gallon trip. But since like in the last 15 years, the newer meters, they've even got them down to less than a gallon now. We could actually be going down to 0.75 or something like that, but it would be,
We're programming it, the gallon.
we're programming, every meter will be, except for some of the commercial meters. Some of the 2-gallon meters are, the 2-inch commercials that we have, they don't go down that low.
On our program, we've talked about this before, where continuous flow will get warnings. I've already made a few phone calls to people that come up, somebody went through 3,000 gallons in 3 weeks. Continuous flow, I called them, they called me back and said, yeah, they had a toilet that was,
Running.
yeah. Just
And once
stuff
the-
like
That's
that.
good PR.
It is, it's public.
Once the whole
yeah.
system's set up, the census will do that automatically, so when they get on there in the morning, if there's an account that's used a substantial more, because after you get the account set up, the program averages so if my house, it'll see that we average, so many gallons per day, and it knows that that's, about what that should be. If it goes over that amount significantly, it'll flag that account, and so they'll be able to see it on the morning, and when they get it, when they get on the system, they can look at it right away, and they can see if there's a flag on there or something.
We can stop those accounts that are running million of gallons through the basement.
If somebody goes south for the winter, and hey, can you guys, we're not gonna be home, shut our water, we're not gonna be using any water, we can flag that account, and then if it shows usage, it'll pop up so that, if water pipes break or something, due to cold weather or something like that, we will actually be able to see it right away.
Good.
That's good customer service.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, we've had that ability the whole time we've had these meter heads, but we've never been able to use it.
Can you elaborate on that? Why couldn't we use it before?
We bought the meters, but we didn't buy the read system. We were going off the OmniPro system, which is He didn't have the
Limited.
he didn't have the capabilities to do all that stuff. Well, maybe he could have, but he wouldn't have been able to because Census has its own software, and he wouldn't have been able to get into it anyways, but, so, his system did not, all it could do was read the meter. That's all it could do.
And that was the guy that was writing his own code for it, right?
Yeah.
His own programming.
Okay.
I've got nothing else.
It's been good discussion today.
Nothing else.
And we got 10 minutes to spare.
12th, resolution. Tomorrow you'll see that in ordinance. Again, with Brad, we can discuss it more there with Mr. Jensen. I'll ask that he can be there. Look for the notes on that tomorrow. On your truck,